Hey YouTube, I'm back again, and today I'm taking a look at the Mattel Action Attack Stegosaurus. Now, as with all of these toys, I mean the sculpt's just fantastic. If I give you a closer look here. Some really nice detailing with the scaling. All the way down the tail, the thigh, the body, and the head there. Then the other side, it just looks brilliant. I love the feel of it as well, just feeling all these details. When I was a kid, my parents always told me that you'd look with your eyes, but I love getting the feel of things as much as I do looking at them, just feeling the sculpted detail. The paint apps are pretty good on this guy. I mean, for the most part, he's this kind of minty green, but his underneath is a kind of yellowy white colour. Then he's got a few darker spots in there, as well as the spines on his back, these plates that all have a mint green detail across the top there. These plates are made of a kind of rubbery plastic, I guess that's so you don't poke your eye out with them. And you can see that kind of goes down onto his back a little bit where it's been stuck together. But it's not particularly a problem. And same on the other side there. The spikes on his tail are also really rubbery. So if anyone breaks into your home, this will be less than useless for self-defense. Now the only real problem I've found with these toys is quite a few of them have the eye on the right side of his face printed lower than the eye is sculpted. Unfortunately mine came like that as well. I got this offline, so I couldn't check it before I got it. So I had to get a carving knife and gently scrape off the orange paint and then redo it myself. Unfortunately the paint I had is a little bit lighter than the colour of the eyes, which is a sort of a deeper orange. So I don't know if it shows up on camera, but he's got one eye that's a slightly different colour than the other. So at some point I'm going to have to try and get some darker orange paint to redo that. But it looks better than it did, because it looked like it had a derpy eye. So look out for that if you're buying this in stores, because apparently quite a few of them have been like this. Now for articulation, the head goes up, so you can have him in a looking up position, kind of straightforward, or down a little bit. That's as far down as it goes, but you can get him looking a bit like he's kind of grazing. It also goes, swivels kind of from side to side there, which looks a bit odd really, but the up and down motion is handy. And then the legs go forward and backwards, of course, but also they both go out to the side a bit. The front especially can get really wide, so it looks like he's kind of slid down. His toenails aren't painted, but it doesn't bother me so much on these kind of dinosaurs, these herbivores with just the small toenails. I don't think it really shows up so badly as on the larger kind of carnivores that have the larger claws. When they're not painted, I think it ends up making them look a bit cheap, but on the Stegosaurus here and the Triceratops it doesn't really bother me so much. And there's the app code on his foot there for anyone who wants it. You can see on the other foot he's got the Jurassic Park logo. Now back on the old toys they used to have the kind of JP logo tattooed on them basically. You see this one here, JP07, and the Lost Worlds ones would have pretty much the same thing but with Site B added on. And I kind of like this just to show that they're official Jurassic Park products, but it does look better having it on the foot like that rather than tattooed on them like that. Now, there's been a slight bit of controversy about this toy because the tail is sculpted to be kind of drooping down as if it's going to be dragged along the ground, which is kind of an old school design for a Stegosaurus. I think it's now been discovered, and I think it was in the 90s maybe it was discovered, that the tail would have been far more straight and stretched out right, and it was probably impossible for the Stegosaurus to actually get his tail down this far because of the bone structure. And I'm not sure quite why they decided to go with the more old school look, though this is how it looked in Jurassic World. In the Lost World they had a more accurate looking Stegosaurus, but they changed the design for Jurassic World So I guess Mattel were basing the toy more on that, which makes sense, and as this is a Jurassic World toy and not a Lost World toy. Now it does have an action feature, which is activated by this plate on the back. If you press it down, you can see his tail swings from side to side there. So he can attack any predators that try and eat him. Now this action feature is actually very reminiscent, and I'd be tempted to say it's a homage to the Lost World Stegosaurus, which does pretty much the same thing, where you would press one of these spines on his back to make the tail swing back and forward. Now, this is what I was saying earlier about the Lost World Stegosaurus. You can see his tail is far more upright rather than kind of drooping down along the ground. Now this toy itself is actually a pretty cool one. It's got pretty much no articulation though. The head doesn't move. The legs look like they would do because they're a separate sculpt, but they don't move either. Really nothing moves other than the tail when you activate the action feature. But it's still a really nice looking dinosaur. It's got a very realistic looking paint job. And the other action feature this had is the dino damage part there. Now because I got this second hand, he unfortunately didn't come with that bit of dino damage, so I always have to pose him that way around. Otherwise he looks like he's had a bite taken out of him. I don't know why kids always lost these bits. I was really careful with mine. All the Jurassic Park toys I've got since I was a kid, I've still got the dino damage parts, but you try looking on eBay for these, they nearly always have the parts missing. It's really frustrating. There must be just a landfill site out there somewhere full of nothing but dino damage parts from old Jurassic Park toys. And now for another comparison, here's the original Jurassic Park Stegosaurus. And I kind of feel like this new version has taken the paint design from this original, but it's a more kind of toned down, less garish looking version. But I kind of think that the designers took a bit of inspiration from this original Jurassic Park Stegosaurus. Now this Stegosaurus is a really bizarre design. I don't know where they got the idea for this from. I think I read somewhere that maybe it was based on how the Stegosaurus was described in the Jurassic Park novel, but he's got these really strange shaped plates on his back. He's only got 2 horns on his tail there. He's got this really long neck. He hasn't got a beak or anything. He just looks really strange. And even as a kid that used to really bother me. He's got the dino damage part there as well. Really nice sculpt in there of like the muscle, all the blood and the hip bone there. Pretty gory. Now this one also has a tail thrashing action, but this one isn't activated by any kind of button. You basically just have to do it yourself. He's just got kind of a springy tail, so he can whip other dinosaurs like that. Now all 3 of these Stegosauruses are about the same size, so they scale up pretty well together. So if you wanted to have one of each of these in your collection, you could have them all as a little herd really, which I think looks quite good together, especially if you put the ugly one kind of in the background a bit so you can't quite make out the bizarre details on him. Now, no, Stegosaurus might not seem like the most exciting dinosaurs because he's not one of the carnivores, but I've always thought of him as one of the main dinosaurs, and I think that's because my first exposure to dinosaurs was through the Dinobots in the original Transformers cartoon. So those 5 dinosaurs, the T-Rex, Triceratops, Stegosaurus, Pterosaur and Apatosaurus, or Diplodocus as we called it back in my day, they always seemed like the top dinosaurs, you know, the main dinosaurs. And speaking of a long-necked dinosaur, can you believe we're getting a Brachiosaurus toy finally? I was so excited when I saw that revealed. I didn't think Mattel would do it, but that is going to be awesome because it's going to be huge. I cannot wait to get my hands on that. I've wanted a decent Brachiosaurus toy ever since I was a kid, since the first film came out. So that's what, 25 years? That's like most of my life I've waited for this. I just hope it's got a decent amount of articulation so you can have it standing up on its hind legs, like in the first movie, or in the last movie. But we don't talk about that. Anyway, thanks for watching everyone, and I'll catch you in the next video.